Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. It is time for another Boomsday card review. We have quite a number of cards here, and certainly some of the craziest cards we have ever seen in the history of Hearthstone. That's right. These are in order of them being revealed, so we'll get to the big few a little bit. We have Voltaic Burst. It's a 1-mana shaman spell. It does overload you for 1, so, it's kind of arguable whether it's, that similar to the Paladin variant that gives you 2/1/1s for 1. This gives you 2/1/1s for 1, but overloads you for 1, but they have Rush. So I think the idea for this card is getting that huge single turn push on the board to steamroll out of control with your zoo game, which includes largely attack buffing positional cards, notably Flame Tongue Totem. So, with Shaman, if you're winning and you have a Flame Tongue Totem, it's very difficult to start losing. So, this card does an outstanding job of setting that up, but the Zoo/mid-range Shaman type of deck has really only worked out under the even structure lately, so I'm not too sure how well that will go when you start including odd cards as well and losing that synergy. It seemed like a good, not broken, but quite good card in a deck like that, but that deck is yet to be made. However, a deck that has already existed is getting a huge bump from Juicy Psych Melon. This card has been the real talk of the town in the Hearthstone community. This thing is just absurd. Now, in terms of standard cards, we'll find some kind of combo, okay? I don't know what the best combo for standard is with a card like this, but it's 4 mana, draw 4 specific cards, which, in my opinion, and not just my opinion, basically everyone's opinion, drawing 4 specific cards is just about always better than drawing 4 random cards. So this is a 4 mana, better than draw 4 cards. So it's better than a sprint, which costs 7. Just to give you the power level of this card. Now, in terms of the combo that most people are a bit struggling to understand why this card even exists in the way that it does, let alone at 4 mana, it's a wild combo, and it includes Azalina. It includes Togwaggle for the 8. It includes Aviana for the 9, and it includes Kun for the 10. Yes, I may have played this deck, I don't know, couple hundred hours, and you guys know, well, yeah, I can hit legend rank in wild. So this literally gives you your entire combo. That's it. Bam. Done. Combo completed. If you're not playing a combo variant, some of those manas are attainable by hitting some giants, perhaps. Certainly there's a lot of room to work with. This card's power level is just ridiculous. Keep that in mind when you're playing against Druid this next expansion. Oh, by the way, you'll be playing against Druid this next expansion. Priest gets a new Power Ward. Power Ward Replicate, 5 cost. Choose a friendly minion, summon a 5/5 copy of it. So I think this type of card is pretty decent with some of the other cards introduced to this expansion that are like play a bunch of small Death Rattle-y stuff. Well, if you make a big copy of a Death Rattle thing, it's pretty good. This card is not that good when played on a high impact large minion because those, well, you won't be able to play it on the same turn. Those are difficult to play, and they're very unlikely to survive. So, yeah, this is mostly a card to upscale things, just mostly, but keep that in mind. Augmented Elic, it's a 3 mana 3/4 beast, so very, very strong stats. It has the beast tag, and honestly, there's some chance that this card will be played in some kind of hunter deck, even if the hunter deck might have like 1 shuffle effect. There's a lot of powerful shuffle effects. They include, a long list of legendary minions, Elises, just a whole bunch of stuff. Some of the recent additions is the 4 mana rogue card that gives you 10 cards that cost 1. So if you're playing this with that, it's very good. There's a lot of other rogue shuffling effect cards. So it seems like there's some, expansion-based Rogue synergy with this card, but there's a lot of cards outside of Rogue that this card works with, especially if you consider the full wild format. So yeah, this card's really good. This is a card that if you get this, even if you don't think it's good right now, if you don't think you'll use it, it's an epic card, so it's not a card you want to be crafting later. This is a keep, okay? If you pull this from your packs, and even if it's not in any good deck that you can find online or anything like that, don't disenchant this card. Necrium Blade is a new rogue weapon. It's a 3-mana 3/2. Holy crap, and it has text. Eat your heart out, Fiery War Axe. The text is actually really good. So a 3-mana 3/2 standalone weapon is currently being played in warrior decks and has in the past been played in other classes. So a 3-mana 3/2 weapon is good enough. It's good enough for Arena, absolutely, and it's questionable if it's good enough for constructed play, but, well, you don't have to choose just a standalone weapon. You get a really powerful effect here. You get the Death Rattle, so basically when you use the last durability on this weapon, it triggers the death rattle of a random friendly minion. And I think with Rogue, we can all safely say you're not playing just random death rattle cards, you're playing specific ones. Rogue is about specific super cheese combos, and certainly there are a lot of those. A lot of them involve cube, so if you can play like a charging minion, and there's certainly a number that costs 5 or less, you play a charging minion, go face, you play the cube on the charging minion, you hit with the last durability of the Necrium Blade, then when you immediately, you get the 2 charge minions that were eaten up by the cube, you can hit face again, so you can do tons of burst damage, and you still gain that presence. It doesn't like destroy the minion, it just triggers a death rattle effect. When that minion dies, it'll trigger again. So this is a very powerful card. I would say, given the nature of that type of deck, which is combo in Rogue with huge charge damage, I would say this might be a meta-defining card in the next expansion. We have a Thunderhead, Elemental for Shamans, a 4-mana 3/5, relatively weak stats, but after you play a card with Overload, you summon 2 1/1s with Rush. This is an extreme win more effect. If you take this with Voltaic Burst, you get those 2s with Rush, and then you get 2 more with Rush. If you have Flame Tongue Totem, oh my god, Shaman has some real potential to be like king of the board. However, we just saw a hell of a lot of combo cards, so king of the board might actually not mean very much. We'll have a very interesting meta on launch. Storm Chaser, it's a 4-mana 3/4, also elemental, and when you play this, you get a spell from your deck that costs 5 or more. So notable spells in decks that would run a card like this, if you're playing an aggressive style elemental deck, which might actually work given what we've just seen. We're looking at cards like Bloodlust. Bloodlust could be very good. It might be a card that you can run even 2 of. If you're running more of a control list, you might be looking for Volcanoes, and if you're running a combo list, you're looking for cards like Eureka. So basically it hits the full spectrum of Shaman, and it's a high power level card with elemental synergy. So I don't know. The way it works with card reviews and stuff, some cards look good, some cards don't look good. We say cards have potential, this and that. This card has potential to work in 3 different deck types of Shaman. So it'll probably actually be viable in one of those ultimately. So again, a card you want to keep. Replicating Menace is a 4-mana 3/1 mech with Magnetic, and the Death Rattle summons 3 1/1s Microbots. So it's just okay. Just as a standalone card, stat-wise, it's not that good. We've had 3-mana 3/1 summon 2 things, but you have to keep in mind it has Magnetic. That's really important. It is a mech. That's also really important. And the things that it spawns are also mechs, which is, again, really important, potentially for some of the mech-based decks. I often talk about how the magnetic, the mech type of deck, will live or die based on the stickiness and early game options of minions, and this is pretty good at that. Even though it's a weak power level card, it's just a very annoying minion that will constantly trigger mech synergy, which is what you're looking for. And more mech synergy, we have a mech warrior card, Security Rover. 6-mana 2/5, so stat-wise, this is like 2 over. It's a mech, so probably still about 2 over. And when this minion takes damage, you summon a 2/3 mech with taunt. So if it just gets one-shotted, you still get a 2/3 mech with taunt. So 6 for a 2/5 and a 2/3 with taunt. Is that pretty good? Yeah, that's pretty good. The immense threat that it brings on the board turn after turn, if you can constantly magnetize further and further and further, well, that might actually work out. This might actually be a very powerful card in some kind of warrior mech deck that we've seen materialize over the last few card reveals. So yeah, this card has a lot of potential. And a card that probably doesn't have any potential, but is the most epic card I have ever seen in Hearthstone. MECHA'THUN. That's right, boys. C'Thun is back in mechanized fashion. It is a 10 mana, 10/10 mechanized god of old. And yeah, you get a death rattle effect that automatically wins you the game. So if this dies, so it has to die. It's not an on-play effect. If it was an on-play effect, this card would be busted. But it's a death rattle. So if you have no cards in your deck, hand, and battlefield, destroy the enemy hero, which is hilarious. Instant win effects are often toyed around with, as awful and as unlikely as they might seem from time to time. They usually make the cut at some point. And I have really thought this card through. I've seen what people have posted on Reddit, on my Twitter when I made this card. When I posted this card, there's just so many crazy ideas. But in general, we're looking at mostly working in Druid. Druid is able to play this on turn 10, and if there's no cards left in the deck, which is easy to do for Druid, by the way, then you can innervate and naturalize, and if you have no other cards in hand, you win the game. I don't think that's that unlikely. I think Druid is capable of doing that, and the counterplay will often be your opponent intentionally leaving Druid's minions up on the board. So it's going to be an insane play counterplay type of deck. I think it's one of the first decks that I want to play on launch day when the Boomsday Project goes live. It's just so cool. Necrium Vial, rogue spell, trigger a friendly minion's death rattle twice. Hunters had a card like this that had half of that effect for 1 mana that nobody played like ever, and Hunters had pretty good death rattles. Rogues? Not really that good death rattles. And this costs 5. So, I don't know. Yes, there's still the fact that, Rogue has some, crazy combo wombos with preps, with shadow steps, with all that. But still, that is a heavy price. It's an extremely powerful effect, so I'm actually not going to write this one off, but that seems really expensive. But there's some cards out there, not for Rogue though, for Druid of course, that offer some mad discounts. We got the Florist, the Dream Petal Florist, a 7 mana 4/4, and the end of turn effect reduces the cost of a random minion in your hand by 7. So basically, on the course of 2 turns, if you're playing only big minions, this is a 0 mana 4/4. But it's better than that because that's just one end of turn trigger. It's a 0 mana 4/4 with basically must kill / taunt slapped on top of it. So yeah, that's really good. It's a very powerful standalone card. Nobody can really doubt that. It's a powerful card in combo decks. Nobody can really doubt that. But in the most consistent use of the card, you will have to play a Druid deck with just a ton. I mean a ton of huge minions. So that's basically Big Druid, Astral Druid, Ramp Druid, whatever you might want to call it. Those decks have popped up near the top, not quite at the top, but near the top of the meta over the years, but they are very rare. They're very rarely near the top of the meta. They're typically just like tier 3 decks. So this card is extraordinary in that type of deck, but I just feel not necessarily that type of deck won't be good enough, but from what we've seen in this expansion's reveals so far, that the other type of Druid decks are probably just going to be stronger. So it'll probably be a card that'll be outshined for a while, but certainly not one you'd want to forget about. we have the legendary Warlock spell, the Solarium, the Solarium. It's a 1-mana draw 3. At the end of each turn, you discard them. So there's two aspects to this card. The first is the Warlock quest actually has very good synergy now because this lets you cycle through your deck to discard options you actually want to discard. This lets you choose the card that you want to discard, more or less. So there are some pretty interesting combos with that. It does add consistency to the Warlock quest, which is strong. It's just the discard mechanic has overall been very weak. This is a strong discard mechanic. If there was a 1-mana card that just you got to choose to discard up to 3 cards at the end of your turn, that'd probably be played. This draws you the cards as well. So this card is completely insane. This is like a batshit crazy card. It might not see too much play or possibly any play in the slower Warlock decks, but I think it still might see some play in cube Warlock based decks. It certainly is going to be a staple in aggressive or zoo Warlock decks, however. Imagine 1 mana drawing 3 for an immediate refuel tempo push. That's literally game winning. Zoo Warlock, this card is game winning. And we're talking about a very powerful and consistent deck in every expansion. And the Arcane Dynamo, 6 cost, 3/4. The Battlecry discovers a spell that costs 5 or more. The card doesn't seem that good, but there's some, interesting things to consider. So if you play Mage, you always get a board clear. There's like 4 Mage spells over 5, and like 3 of them are board clears, and Discover means you're shown 3, you pick 1. So you basically always get a board clear as Mage. So in Arena, that's very good. In Constructed, well, I don't know. That's probably a bit too slow, but I don't know. That's not bad. I can't call that bad. The other consideration is that a lot of the really large spells are some of the legendary spells introduced in this expansion. So if you want to think about Warrior, which is a pretty bad class to have huge spells with, by the way, there's like 4 spells over 5. Maybe there's one more I'm forgetting, but you're looking at like Brawl, which is really good. You can't ever have enough Brawls, or like the legendary Warrior spell. And honestly, that like set of spells might not be good enough to run this card in Constructed, but I'm saying that so you understand the power level of the card, especially when considering a format like, Arena, where you don't get legendary spells. Well, now you might. A lot. Super frequently. So, yes, could be very good. We have the EMP Operative. We have a neutral mech destruction card. The only problem is it's a 5-mana 3/3. So in the past, Blizzard has heavily pushed some deck types, and they have generally worked out okay. And yeah, then they get really broken, and then like 1 or 2 expansions later, Blizzard comes up with some kind of crab that specifically targets the tribe that's causing the main part of the problem in that deck. Well, this time around, they're going fast forward. Mechs are so advanced that their counters are coming out at the same time. There's a really good chance some of these mech decks are going to be completely insane, so there's a really good chance that you might want to put this in your deck, but be warned, a 5-mana 3/3 is very, very weak. Until we have a meta where just about every deck is playing some kind of mechanized minion, this card will be a high risk, mostly mediocre reward option to countering mechs. So don't lose your minds over this card. Meteorologist, however, the Mage 6-drop, there's certainly some reason to lose your mind over. So you basically missile down your opponent for each card you have in hand. The maximum typically is going to be 9. Very, very difficult to extend to the full 10. So you're probably just doing, if you're playing some kind of hand mage, you're probably doing between like 4 and 8 missiles to your opponent's face. Is that good? Yeah, that's outstanding. Even 4 missiles, even the low end, if you do like 4 missiles and you get a 6-mana 3/3, you play it only when you need it, it's pretty good. If your opponent doesn't have a board, it's your burst finisher. It's a very flexible card. It works kind of like a combo, kind of like a finisher, and it also works very well against aggro decks, which seem largely unchecked from what I've seen so far in this expansion, so we'll have to see how that'll turn out. But that's it for this one. Hope you guys join me again in another card review video in a couple of days. And until then, I'll see you guys tomorrow.